NASA just revealed James Webb Telescope will be renamed. Disappointment, sadness, anger, frustration. These are some of the reactions from LGBTQ plus astronomers to the latest revelations about NASA's decision not to rename the James Webb Space Telescope, or JWST, despite evidence that its Apollo-era administrator, James Webb, was involved in the persecution of gay and lesbian federal employees in the 1950s and 60s. In today's video, we will discuss the James Webb Telescope. Will it be renamed? So, let's get started. The new evidence was made public late last month when the magazine Nature published roughly 400 pages of email exchanges acquired via a Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA, request. Since early last year, 4 experts have spearheaded the drive for NASA to change the name of the $10 billion flagship project, which will launch in December 2021 and deliver unprecedented vistas of the cosmos. The emails show that NASA was fully aware of Webb's troublesome legacy, even as the agency's leadership refused to remove his name from the project. From the conversations, it seems that LGBTQ plus scientists and the concerns we mentioned are not really what they care about, says YAO-YUAN of Rutgers University, who manages the online astronomy and astrophysics outlet of openly LGBTQ plus researchers. Do you know who was the first LGBTQ scientist? Let me know in the comments. It's almost amusing how inept the whole thing was, says Scott Gowdy, an astronomer at Ohio State University, and how little they stopped to think about how important this was to the queer astronomical community, and how important NASA is for young queer kids trying to find aspirational reasons to just keep going. As the successor to the renowned Hubble Space Telescope, the name of the JWST is likely to be known by school children, suburban parents, and senior citizens alike, which is why LGBTQ plus astronomers believe that the observatory's namesake should not be someone who is allegedly involved in homophobic directives. Many of them consider NASA's refusal to rename the JWST as part of a troubling trend in which the agency's actions speak louder than its professed policy of encouraging diversity and inclusion across its workforce. Last month, for example, NASA officials hurried to explain their unexpected rejection of a project to enable Goddard Space Flight Center staff to use personal pronouns more freely in intra-agency discussions. During a March 30th meeting of NASA's Astrophysics Advisory Committee, officials said that the agency's inquiry into Webb's possible connection with LGBTQ plus persecution is still underway and that a final report would be presented in the following months. I'm searching for further information that would contradict our present understanding of Webb's participation in this, said NASA's acting chief historian Brian ODOM. At the same conference, NASA's director of astrophysics, Paul Hertz, expressed regret, admitting that the choice NASA made is difficult to some, and it seems incorrect to many of us. Some scientists believe that the organization should now give in to rising pressure and remove Webb's name off of its flagship telescope in order to rebuild its tarnished reputation with the LGBTQ plus community. Guys, stop! Please do let me know in the comment section below what you think about this controversy. According to JOHANNA TESKE, an astronomer at the Carnegie Institution for Science in Washington, D.C., renaming the JWST would be a simple but extremely important thing that NASA can do, both for astronomers and the general public. Why would they pass up the chance to fulfill one of their basic values? The JWST was renamed after Webb in 2002 after being named the Next Generation Space Telescope by Sean O'Keefe, NASA's administrator at the time. Little was known at the time about Webb's participation in the Lavender Scare, a McCarthy-style witch hunt in which many homosexual and lesbian government workers were seen as national security dangers and were subsequently surveilled, harassed, and sacked. Webb formerly served as a second-in-command at the United States Department of State. A redacted writer comments on September 3, 2021, email received via the FOIA that Webb met with President Harry S. Truman on June 22, 1950, in order to determine how the White House, the State Department, and the Huey Committee can operate together on the gay probe. Before Webb resigned from the State Department in 1952, a considerable number of LGBTQ+ employees were sacked. According to critics, homophobia accompanied Webb to NASA. Clifford Norton, a suspected gay employee, was interrogated for hours about his sexual history by NASA security chief, during his tenure as the agency's administrator between 1961 and 1968, a critical time in the agency's preparations to land astronauts on the moon. Norton was eventually fired for immoral, indecent, and disgraceful conduct. This was one of the reasons for proposals to rename JWST, to which NASA replied by undertaking an internal probe into Webb's involvement. Current agency head Bill Nelson issued a one-sentence statement on September 27, 2021, stating, "We have discovered no information at this time that merits altering the name of the James Webb Space Telescope." The announcement appears strange, given that, as early as April 2021, one redacted author in the newly released emails noted that the official who fired Norton testified that the termination occurred because his advisors told him that dismissal for homosexual conduct was considered a custom within the agency. Prior to Nelson's announcement, the redacted author of an email dated September 3, 2021, strongly advised altering the telescope's name. "It is evident that Webb took a leading role in the Lavender Scare," they said. "It seems that the whole research endeavor was contaminated from the start by the fact that the purpose was to reject the criticism they received," said Lucian Walkowicz, an astronomer at the Adler Planetarium in Chicago and one of the scientists spearheading the movement to alter the name of the JWST. Many LGBTQ+ astronomers find it especially galling because Hertz indicated in the emails that he contacted more than 10 members of the astrophysics community, none of whom identified as LGBTQ+, and none of whom voiced dismay at the thought of JWST having its problematic moniker. "I've known Paul Hertz for over a decade and consider him a colleague and a mentor," Gaudy adds. "He recognizes me. He's aware that I'm homosexual, and he didn't even ask. What the heck is going on?" The haphazard nature of NASA's reaction to this dispute illustrates the reality that government agencies seldom adhere to strict naming or renaming procedures for high-profile projects. Such choices seem to be made at the whim of high officials, with little respect for broader input from other stakeholders, including the general public. The Natural Science Foundation, for example, renamed the presently under construction Large Synoptic Survey Telescope in honor of astronomer Vera C. Rubin, who was essential in the discovery of dark matter in late 2019. According to Matt Mountain, president of the Association of Universities for Research in Astronomy, the move resulted from a recommendation made in the United States House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology rather than a huge grassroots initiative. NASA's forthcoming Wide Field Infrared Survey Telescope was also titled after Nancy Grace Roman, another pioneering astronomer and the agency's first female leader, albeit the agency followed a clear policy direction for naming important projects in that instance. The majority of NASA's name changes have happened before the completion or launch of a mission, although there is precedent for post-launch adjustments as well. The Swift Gamma Ray Burst Explorer was renamed after its late lead scientist, Neil Gerald Swift, while the National Polar Orbiting Operational Environmental Satellite System Preparatory Project was dubbed after meteorologist Werner E. Suomi 3 months after it launched. The expense of such projects, which entail updating government documents, websites, and graphic designs, seems to be minimal. According to Mal, the Rubin Observatory's annual budget of around $40 million saw no major rise during the name change, implying that such changes involve small monetary risks for what may be huge gains. In my perspective, the change of the name elevates the Vera Rubin scientific community, Mal says. The name not only encourages me to pursue fascinating work, but it also reminds me of my obligation to make this area more accessible. Some opponents of altering the JWST's name argue that he was not a hate-mongerer, but rather a complex figure, a man of his time who, like everyone else, accomplished some good and some ill. It's enticing to want to look for monsters, Walkowicz explains. However, I believe monsters are a fantasy we tell ourselves about how prejudice and discrimination are practiced. We are overly focused on a cartoonish depiction of prejudice, rather than how discrimination is a multi-dimensional policy choice executed by many individuals. Walkowicz adds that although Webb deserves credit for assisting to put humans on the moon during his time, he also has responsibility for homophobic activities carried out by the government. Whatever path NASA takes in the future, the damage done to its connection with the LGBTQ+ community will take time and effort to restore. I've lost trust, and I believe a lot of others have, says Shonda Prescott-Weinstein, a theoretical cosmologist at the University of New Hampshire and another proponent of renaming the JWST. However, she believes that change is still possible. As scientists, we often recognize we were wrong and chart a new road. That's all for this video. If you liked the video, please like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.